You explained imperishable, avyayam, as that part of, Krishna consciousness need not be changed. It is
undecayed.
It is irrevocable.
Yes, okay.
And so in Bhagavatam we read that an acharya or a devotee, pure devotee can explain
according to time, place and circumstance.
So most of the times there is a contradiction. Means a devotee, because I don't know whether he's not pure enough or something.
Actually, you spoke in a very hesitating fashion, but it's a very profound question. So that's very relevant. Did you hear the question? Worth repeating. He's saying that I, spoke at length about the point that this science is unchangeable, avyayam. And yet in the Bhagavatam there's mention of how the Acharya, he adjusts the teachings according to time, place and circumstance. So you would agree that's a very good question. Which makes me wonder why others don't ask questions. Anyway. So it's a good question. Now, you have an expert cook, right? They know how to make, gulab jamun perfectly, right? But perfect requires nice certain temperature, certain this, certain ingredients. When those temperature and ingredients are not perfect, he knows how to adjust. Do you understand? You understand the adjustment idea? The adjustment idea is not where the temperature is perfect, the ingredients are perfect, but he changes. It's a perfect recipe. The adjustment comes in when it calls for adjustment. When a situation calls for, because the same setting as before is not there. Now I'll give an example that's not gulab jamun but Krishna consciousness. In the Bhagavad Gita we hear of Krishna consciousness in a setting, in a Vedic setting, where there is Varna ashram. There is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. There is Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sanya. Now we find ourselves in a setting where we don't know who is Brahmana, who is a Kshatriya, who is a Vaishya, who is a Shudra. We don't know ourselves what I am. Am I right? Would you agree? So now it calls for a little adjusting by the person who knows the science perfectly. So a confused person can't adjust first, right? You can't say. You don't even know what Krishna consciousness looks like in a perfect setting. So how are you going to adjust it? But the person who does, he can. So he doesn't defeat the purpose by his adjustment. He achieves the purpose. The adjustment achieves the purpose. So now I'll give you the example of Srila Prabhupada. So we find ourselves in the age we are, very confused. We're so confused we don't know what's moral, immoral, what's right, what's wrong. Very, very confused population. Yet Srila Prabhupada was able to transplant Vedic culture. So we have to study that person very carefully. And yes, he did adjust. But he's the person who always spoke of Bhagavad Gita as it is. He always spoke, don't change. The person who could adjust, he always said, don't change.
Don't add and don't subtract.
Don't add, don't subtract. Thank you very much. Even more, makes it more clear. So to enter the spirit, to get it right, it requires that you become trained. The untrained person cannot do the adjustment. When you have benefited from being trained, you can adjust it for the next person. When you have benefited. But it's very dangerous if, for example, you're lusty but you make adjustments. More likely than not, your adjustments are going to be centered around your lusty desires. You're going to cater to them. You're going to accommodate them. They stay intact. They're not threatened. That's dangerous. So therefore we should go, and that's going to be the subject. This is developed, this theme is developed in this 4th chapter. That you have to learn this science from a person who is described as Tattvadarshi, who is on that platform, who is not trying, who is on that platform. So one of the things Srila Prabhupada would say is, one of the symptoms that you are taking training is that you are never disobedient. You are never disobedient. Yes. So that means you have to pay attention, you have to hear correctly, and then you have to obey that. Otherwise, you're on your own. You're not evam param, you're not vivasvan manave praha, you're not discipling. You're not a disciple.
You can't expect the same result.
I'm sorry?
You can't expect the same result.
You can't expect the same result. Thank you. Any other questions? Follow on or other? Mataji? You're welcome to make a comment.
Prabhupada also explained that when you make changes, there's principles and there's details. So Prabhupada never changed the principles. He often changed details.
But I must say something, Mataji.
Yeah.
He changed the details. We're not even supposed to change the details.
No, we're not supposed to change
Thank
the
you.
details.
He did it.
We're not qualified
That's it.
to make that's
the point.
consideration.
He never changed the principles, but we're not even supposed to change the detail. I'll give an example of Bhakti True Maharaj. He said he was here in Vrindavan. He was cooking for Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada told him to use a lot of haldi for eggplant recipe. And he thought, doesn't make sense, that much haldi. So he said, I think he meant this. So when Prabhupada saw the preparation, he said, why did you disobey? This is Maharaj told this in Bhaktivedanta Manor some decades ago. I'm an old guy, so I don't know anything recent. It's all in the old days. So he was pointing out, even the detail, you have to follow.
I have another Bhakti True Swami cooking story. He was describing how Prabhupada was teaching him how to make a special potato preparation. And he wanted to use mustard oil. So he said, he told him, add more mustard oil. So Bhakti True Ganisham, I guess, I don't remember his name. Anyway, he put in what he thought was a reasonable amount. And Prabhupada said, put more, keep pouring. And then he was a little hesitant, and then he stopped again, and then Prabhupada said, keep putting the mustard oil. It was very, very instructive the way he was saying it. Just because we thought it was correct doesn't mean that it was what he wanted.
Yeah. So, very important to be trained to obey every detail. literally the detail, and not to take it upon ourselves, well, Deshakala Patra, I have to adjust. Don't do it. Not so good. Srila Prabhupada didn't think that when his Guru Maharaj told him to go and preach in the West, he didn't think I'll adjust it. He went to the West. He went there physically to the West. He didn't adjust it.
And he was told to speak in English. So at his sannyas initiation, he gave a lecture in English.
Even though there was few people who could understand.
Nobody else understood the English, but he spoke in English.
Okay. Any other questions?
So, some of the other religious texts, such as the Bible, are accepted as also aparushaya, but they are being practiced by people who, as you said, they've adjusted it because they're lusty. They've adjusted the practices.
Actually, Srila Prabhupada took an interesting approach with the Bible. He didn't bring up this issue that it has been tampered and played with, King James version and so on and so forth, and he didn't go into any of that. Although he knew it all because he was taught in Scottish Church's College in Calcutta by Scottish priests. Almost all the professors were religious teachers in any subject. What he said was, the first commandment is thou shalt not kill. Obey. In other words, he wasn't saying, okay, they're not a Parushya, but obey. Do it. And follow the example of Lord Jesus Christ. So, I guess you could say that's true even for people who like to tamper. At least obey. Even if you're going to tamper and change, obey. Why are you disobeying?
So then my question is, what about the people who are sincerely following the process as they are being taught, but they're being taught imperfectly?
No, but first point is, are they obeying thou shalt not kill? This was Prabhupada's. He would be relentless on this point. Are you obeying that? Now, one example comes to my mind of a person who obeyed. Saint Francis of Assisi. He was completely vegetarian. And he had realization of the Lord in Paramatma feature. You know, brother, sister, birds, animals, species, everything. Trees, plants, river. You know. He had, so within, you know, it's a bit like that saying, blind uncle is better than no uncle. Even the scriptures which are tampered, because there is still something there, it will be powerful if you follow it. But don't be deceptive. Don't be a cheater. Don't be a pretender. Don't be a hypocrite. And so, unfortunately, because people want to be hypocrites, they follow these because it's very convenient. Because the thing they like to take the most shelter of is, I confess my sins. Prabhupada said, but why would you do it again? For example, he didn't dispute that your confession was not accepted. He said, but why would you do it again? That's, you know, you're making a mockery of the process. You're not being sincere. So it's interesting how a pure devotee approaches all these difficulties. We would have bigger difficulties. We would say, oh, we would either condemn them or we would be put in a situation because they may contradict Vaishnava principles. But Prabhupada just took the simple essence, which no matter which version of the Bible you look at, unless it's the very recent one which says thou shalt not murder. It says now, thou shalt not murder. So, but actually, until somebody became very clever recently, it was always thou shalt not kill. In any language. So, confession and this thou shalt not kill were the 2 points Prabhupada would take up. Be sincere. And he always said Lord Jesus Christ himself was a representative of God, the Son of God. He would accept all that. He said, as you are. So people may have their own other agenda, but so we don't want to find ourselves in conflict with principles of religion in any culture. Because the principles of religion, in essence, are the principles enunciated in the Vedas. Over time they've become tampered, but the essence is still there. Okay. Any other questions? I would encourage all of you to be a little inquisitive. I mean, part of training is to, what does Rupa Goswami says? Dadati pratigranati guyam akhyati. Prichati. Guya Makyati Prichati. Is it on? Yeah. Switch it up.
Hare Krishna. I'm from Durban, South Africa. Actually, I belong to the Divine Life Society, Shivananda Ashram. And I think I just really liked you spoke about obedience. And that's something that's very dear to our Sanatana Dharma, that implicit obedience. And thank you for those anecdotes you shared about Srila Prabhupada. And in our own ashram, obedience plays a very important part. Without that implicit obedience to the Guru, you can't have progress. You have to literally follow what he says. And just to share one anecdote, the devotees here, when Srila Prabhupada came to South Africa, I'm not sure what year it was, probably in the 70s, you would know better. There was a function at the Durban City Hall, and he had invited our Swamiji, that's my Guru, Swami Sajananda, and but our Swamiji could not make it to attend that function, so he wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada apologizing that he couldn't make it, but he wishes him all the best in South Africa. And Srila Prabhupada somehow came to learn that our Swamiji had printed the Pocket Gita. Actually, he was the first Swami to print Pocket Gita in South Africa in English. And he had printed about over 500,000 copies at that time. And Srila Prabhupada, when he came to hear of that, he wrote back to Swami Sahajananda, and he wrote with so much of reverence, actually calling Swami Sahajananda my Guru. And it's just because Swamiji had printed the Bhagavad Gita. So I'm just trying to share with the devotees Srila Prabhupada's love for the Gita and his respect for those who propagated it or helped to propagate it. Where he actually called Swami Sahajananda his Guru. To equal one as your Guru is not you wouldn't do that to anybody.
Yeah.
But that was his love for the Gita, and I think you can see it through devotees like you. That love that he had for the Gita, he has passed that down to you all, and you're doing a very good job, and it was very beautiful, nice sitting here. Thank you.
Are there any questions? No questions. Very bad. Okay. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.